Hello from Beijing. I'm Rob Longley with Scott Stinson. We're here at the Olympics, and we're here specifically to talk women's Olympic hockey, where it got underway before the opening ceremony. We saw Canada storm out to an easy 12-1 win. We're going to see a lot of blowouts like that, I think, in this tournament. But Scott, what's your impression of what we're going to see over the next week and a half or so as Canada looks to get back in and win a gold medal game?
Yeah, I mean, the funny thing with this tournament, Rob, is it's the rare thing in the Olympics where you can say we feel like we know what the gold medal matchup is going to be before it even starts, although it has already started. Canada and the U.S. being the overwhelming sort of co-favorites to get to the gold medal matchup. It's interesting. This has been an Olympic sport now for 2 decades, but we haven't really seen the rest of the world close the gap. So I think we're looking at some combination of Canada and the U.S. in the final, and we'll see what happens from that point on.
Yeah, you know what really interests me about this team is there's a lot of change from 2018. Obviously, that 2018 team was a good team. They lost in the shootout to the Americans. By the way, there won't be a shootout this year because they've abandoned the shootout. But there's been a lot of turnover. There's 10 new faces, 10 first-time Olympians on the Canadian team. There's a new coach in Nova Scotian, Troy Ryan, and he's brought a sort of a different approach, I think. He's really emphasized the speed of the game and not just skating. By speed, I mean moving the puck out of their own zone, being aggressive on forecheck, and really trying to get these girls to sort of buy into not just a team mentality, but a more of a columnist. Like let's stay focused on the task at hand. And I think, obviously it's not going to matter too much in the preliminary round games, but when it gets to the point where they meet the Americans and things get tense again, I think that kind of a mindset and maybe that kind of leadership from the coaching staff is going to play in their hands quite well.
Yeah, the interesting thing being, of course, the fact that you sort of go through this round of blowouts, and then you have the U.S. somewhere in that mix in the round robin part 2, and then eventually you get to the medal matchups where it matters a bit more. But it's this weird rhythm to the tournament where you have it like the opener that we just saw where they blew the Swiss out of the water. We're up 2-0 within moments, and we rolled to a 12-1 victory. It's must be very challenging for a staff and for the players to make the adjustment from those kind of games to a game against the U.S. where they're very evenly matched.
Yeah, tournaments like this are always full of stories, and there's one that's really captivated me. Hockey's a sport that both in the men's and the women's game tends to have superstars. I mean, we've seen it in this program from Haley Wickenheiser to currently Marie-Philip Poulin, but we're seeing a kid right now, a 21-year-old named Sarah Fillier, who people I've talked to say is the next superstar of the game. I mean, I've heard people liken her to Connor McDavid. Wow. I mean, they're saying that she's the female Connor McDavid. And what a debut she makes. She scores 2 goals in her first game. 64 seconds into her life as an Olympian, she scores a goal. Yeah. I mean, does that get you a little bit excited, too, to watch a player like that on her ascent in the international game?
Yeah, it's funny because Marie-Philip Poulin has been doing it for so long. It seems like she's got 2 sort of gold medal clinching goals herself, plus the silver from Pyeongchang, and yet she's 30 now, and you're sort of ready to see the next big star, and it looks like Fillier could be that person.
As an aside, what I really love about how Hockey Canada has handled this. When Fillier joined the senior team program in 2018, they made Poulin as her mentor. They roomed together on the road, and she's obviously learned. I mean, she didn't need to learn the skill, but she needed to learn how to be a professional, and she's done a really good job at that. I think looking beyond Canada, obviously the Americans are a big story, but there's another one that we were talking about earlier that interests us a little bit, and that would be the host Chinese team. What do you think? What do you expect maybe from them as they make their Olympic debut?
I mean, I don't think we expect too much from them in terms of wins or medals or anything like that, but it's been interesting to see. They basically, once they got the games, they said to themselves, how are we going to have a team, basically? They brought in a bunch of Canadians to kind of head the organizational development. They had this weird arrangement with the now defunct Canadian Women's Hockey League where they had 2 Chinese-based teams who were footing a lot of the bill for that league's existence for a couple of seasons. And so they basically took these women who had never played the game before and kind of put them on skates and figured it out and started coaching them intensely. And we saw, again, they had their opening game. They lost 3-1, but, that's a respectable score for a nation that's never played in an international tournament like this before. So we'll see what happens with them. Often it'll be like potentially one of those stories that gets kind of interesting as it goes on, because of course the Chinese people are the only fans here, so
Yes.
they'll have the benefit of home crowd support.
Yeah, so plenty of stories to follow, obviously, and I would really expect that over the course of the women's tournament here, we're going to continue to see the momentum that Canadian women have had over sport, and specifically Olympic sport, over the last few years. That's certainly to me going to be one of the exciting developments. And that's all for us today. I'm Rob Longley.
I'm Scott Stinson for Post Media.